fact of the matter is, it's time to speak up. It's time to speak up about reality. If I was the king, I would do the following. What would I do? No, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for the king, that's too big. And I don't want to be put in his boots. Would you? Not I. No. I would just like to say, overruled to the new lawmaking of the pro-Islamification of Britain. It's clearly an aspect of the conspiracy now in concurrent cahoots with government policy, which is the most disturbing event in the modern world for Occidental UK politics in a democracy, which is now being, I consider, corrupted by the methodology of dark foreign cults to damn a people, and indigenous people largely, who do not subscribe to the tenets and methodologies of the religion therein, that is thus considered a cult in authentic ancient Christendom. And it is thus said, nevertheless it's a beautiful day. And I would like to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the enemy, the fucking terrible people and the terrible things that terrible people do to one another, of all shapes and colours. But let's face it, a certain methodology of focus onto a particular prophet has warranted a legacy, if you like, or perhaps, what's the word I'm really fishing for? Come on, please, Clark. I'm good at this language shit generally. A reputation. A reputation is the word I was looking for. See, I can get stuck. I'm not fully, eternally loquacious and verbose in a prolix and intellectual form perpetually. I can get stuck when I'm being absolutely laser-sighted on a specific detail by which I wish to illustrate. But therein I might stumble upon the correct usage of terms when operating at the very elite of requirement for my nodal features neuronically to find the correct term by which to display that which I am cogitating. So the word was... what was the word again? Reputation, right? Islam has a dodgy reputation. And it actually, in certain schools of Christianity, is considered a satanic cult for its multiple uses of beheadings in traditional culture. And that's why we like them often in Catholicism to stay the fuck away from us, because we know what their breed of ideology stands for, and why we, as Christians, do not seek to tolerate that in our far more occidental liberated sky of mad fancy and somewhat delightful freedom, which has been fought for and won by our forefathers and our forefathers' forefathers over generations of struggle to win this world for better. And Britain has given this world so many blessings we all benefit from. There is no disputing it. Even the Japanese will tell you the British have innovated more great innovations and inventions for this world than any other nation. And that's huge. That's freaking huge for a small island, many of whom come from up north in the mountains called Scotland and talk a funny language, but are actually British and us. I am mostly made of Scottish blood, you might be interested to know. And I found that out due to science, which was started thanks to genealogy, and not genealogy, genetics, and the knowledge of genes therein, which was started by a Christian, a European Christian, Gregor Mendel, a very wise man who loved dissecting and splicing peas together by which to replicate foreign buds of new strands. And this was a huge insight into the origin of genetics. But that's what I had to say at this point. Not that I realised I had all that to say, but I would like to stress all of this as veritas and veritable and actual and totally on the money. and totally true to be free, as I am as a believer, as an Illuminatus, haloed by God himself, in this libertarian island of beauty upon occasion, like today, where if you could see the true lovely dulcet glows of the heavenly windows, you also would fall in love with Britain on a beautiful day. On a nice, pleasant, everything's perfect, in some sort of whimsical, dreamy fancy of, oh, it's all going to be okay. Oh, it may not be heaven in heaven, but it's sometimes heaven on earth, because it's better than shitholes in the Middle East, which are always bombing each other due to religious differentials and other mad nincompoop tomfooleries. Or over in Russia and Ukraine, the poor bastards. Ukraine, come on. I feel so bad for you guys. Keep it up. You're doing great against the mighty thrasher of Russia. Oh, what a Putin. So I never thought growing up in the 21st century it would lead to this sort of mad new world. I hesitate to use the word universe, because I think the universe would be more intelligent in more multiple places generally. But I'm glad to say I think we're doing much better intelligently than I think a lot of you give you credit for, because this internet thing, all this sci-fi stuff, all this technology, all these computer gizmos, all this wonderful creation of glory, all these innovations to help make more efficient farming and land and opportunity and growth and success and food supply and space realms and adventures and satellites and equipment to go on adventures into the space realms and all these things, very exciting. The history of computing alone is enough of a cathexis of inspiration to the right kind of nerd to write multiple books about, if you should be so into reading. For there is so much information out there, and if it could be condensed and collated into one finite theory which pinpoints the totality of all things, by which to define your psyche and soul as a human being under God in this reality, well, I think it's a pint and a beer and a smoke, right? Because that is the portalization that I seek as a peacemaker. Right? I don't think people should be on hard drugs at all. I don't do them and haven't for a long time. Right? People seem to think I take cocaine a lot because I'm quite ebullient. I'm not on cocaine. I get injected for schizophrenia with Abilify. They're not the same thing. I don't like cocaine. I think it's very expensive and very dangerous, and every time I've taken it, which isn't much in the past, and I'm 51, I've only done it 10 or 20 times, and every time I got worried, oh, a fatal death, and it was bad, and I don't like it, and then you do have a good laugh talking about all sorts of wonderful nonsense, but you don't remember any of it the next day, and there's no profundities laced. Your art you do think might be great, but it's absolutely terrible generally, and I don't recommend cocaine, but I think it could be a very bad sin in fact. But never mind, let us move on from that. Everyone in the Bible enjoyed a beveratus. Being a drunk wasn't wise, it's frowned upon. It's not a hellfire sin to be a drunk. It's just you don't get into the New Jerusalem spaceship when it descends from heaven in the future. Right? But you don't go to hell for enjoying a drink. And why should you? It's perfectly rational. And Noah and Lot and many of the kings and our forefathers and prophets, including Jesus, drank wine in history. Which is why, once again, we come at the schism of cultures between cult Christianity and Islam. And I will not easily be moved from this position of well-educated, illuminated knowledge under God. Because it is a nonsense to me that I should heed these foreign terms of utter conspiracy and oppression of my people into some kind of delusional nonsense that doesn't exist in our more scientific and reasonable and greater understanding of reality. And it must be suppressed. They can do that in their own land, not in ours. And I mean that. I'm not trying to sound hard. I think it's very important we address this as a meaningful issue in a dangerous threshold of political climate. And if we don't find a way to solve this peacefully, Well, war isn't even on the table. This is home. And if you bring water home, even if you're the enemy Muslim, well, you'll get shot. And that's the way it should be. So well done. I'm going to stop there because I could go on, but I can't. And I don't want to because I've said too much. But you know where I'm at, and that's the truth. And I think many of you, in your heart of hearts, agree with everything I say if you're honest with yourselves. Because we like to dance with the Teletubby people. We like to dance in the freedom sky. We're not oppressed by a woo-woo tribe system. No, 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 hell why? We won't be idolaters to a foreign prophet. We won't be idolaters to hell. We are saved by Christianity, and that's so swell. But there you go, I tried a song. It wasn't very good. Very embarrassing, in fact. But you never know. Better than a kick in the arse by a Nazi jackboot. Or indeed a beheading by a cult.